Welcome to Facets of Affinity, your one-stop destination for all things love, engagement and weddings, sprinkled with a generous dose of sparkle. I'm your host, Irene, and I'm absolutely thrilled to be your guide on this fabulous journey. Join us as we explore the art of popping the question, the joy of saying I do, and everything in between. Welcome to Facets of Affinity. Hi, Giuseppe.
Good morning.
Thank you so much for joining us on our first episode of Facets of Affinity.
Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you.
Can you tell us how long you've been a diamond merchant for?
I have been a diamond merchant now for 11 years, close to 12
Wow.
by the end of the year. So
you must love it.
I do enjoy it.
But then what's not to love?
Oh, look, I was previously in the dental industry, and it is a huge change from that. The biggest difference I would say is that clients you deal with here are happy. The dental industry, it was fun. There were really good aspects to it, but I'd say there's like a negative connotation with it.
Yeah.
When someone comes in here, they're happy, they're in love, they're getting engaged, they're then coming back to get married, and you know the story goes on and on. So it's always happy occasions.
All the nice milestones in their life.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I guess I was going to just ask you, tell us a little bit about your experience in the industry, but you've kind of started that with that answer.
Look, when I first jumped on board, I didn't know a lot, but I've had the opportunity of spending time with other diamond merchants, diamond cutters, graders, gemologists, valuers, jewelers, diamond setters, and over the years have learned so much. And it's an amazing experience. There are so many facets, I guess, to the jewelry industry, and each little individual piece is unique. So, yeah.
And wait, what is a diamond merchant? We haven't even
a diamond merchant, I guess, is someone who buys and sells diamonds, trades diamonds. You know, you can do a course to learn how a diamond is graded, but you can't necessarily do a course to learn how to buy diamonds.
Sure.
So a diamond merchant is someone who buys and sells diamonds.
Great. Sounds like a lot of fun.
It is fun.
What would you say you love most about this industry?
I guess dealing with new people.
Yeah.
You got your existing clients, of course, as always, but dealing with new people, they come in, you know, a lot of the time they're looking to get engaged, they're happy, they're excited, and then watching their journey, watching them grow.
Yeah.
After 11 years, we're now having clients come back that not only have I seen them get married, but now they're having children, and you see the journey as it goes along, and it's beautiful. It's really nice to see.
It must feel really nice for people to choose you to be a part of such a special time in their life. Because really, they could choose anyone.
Yeah, absolutely.
But
We're privileged. We're privileged.
Yeah, that is so lovely.
Yeah.
So 11 years.
Yes.
That's a long time.
Years.
Does it feel like a long time?
No.
No.
No. The days go very quickly in here.
Yeah.
There's always something to do, someone to talk to, something to design. The days fly.
Right.
11 years, I wouldn't have imagined it would go that quick.
Yeah, that's amazing, really, when you think about it. And in that time, do you have a rough idea of how many weddings you've been involved in?
No one has ever asked me that question.
Yeah.
Trying to think off the top of my head. If I was to average it out, a couple of weddings a week, 50 weeks a year, let's say 150 weddings a year, times 11 years, over 1,000, easily.
I'm glad you didn't ask me that, because my maths is terrible.
Yeah, 1,000 to 1,500 weddings, I'd say.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a lot.
That's really nice, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a lot of wedding bands.
And out of those 1,000+ weddings, are there any that really stand out for you as like core memories or core moments in your career?
Look, yes would be the simple answer. There's two, and not so much weddings, but particular wedding bands that have stood out with me.
Yeah.
So one of them in particular was for a client. He decided to have, there was a cross in the middle of his wedding band.
Yeah.
So a religious aspect to it. But then wrapping the whole way around his wedding band was actually his wedding vows.
Oh, wow.
So it was 4 rows of writing going the whole way around, and it actually turned out spectacular. We were kind of worried, are you going to be able to actually read this? But we could, which was amazing.
Yeah.
So that was one very unique design that stood out.
Yeah.
The other one was a very sentimental, I guess, aspect to that wedding band. This particular gentleman was gifted his grandmother's ring, and she was unable to be at the wedding.
Yeah.
So we literally, and I mean literally, embedded it into his wedding band. So we didn't melt it down like we do a lot of the time and reuse it and recycle it.
Sure.
We literally basically cut the band at the bottom, peeled it open in half, and embedded it into his ring. So it's almost like finding a fossil in the ground.
Yeah.
So his ring was white gold, and then it just had this embedded rose gold kind of square signet ring through it. It almost looked like a piece of history was kind of embedded in there, and it was really special.
Yeah, that does sound really beautiful.
Yeah, it was.
Was that your idea?
Yeah, it was actually.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, he wanted to incorporate, and I thought rather than melting it,
Yeah.
he wanted to try and keep the original look.
Yeah.
So I sat down, had a chat with the jewelers, and said, "Can we put this into the new wedding band without altering the look of it?"
I like that.
And we
love
made
that.
it work. It looked really cool.
Great idea. So let's just take a step back. We've spoken a little bit about weddings and wedding bands. Let's go back to the beginning, the proposal. The ring that we need for the proposal. We've all heard about the 4 C's. Can you tell us a little bit more about the 4 C's and what needs to be considered in a first engagement ring consultation?
So look, there's, I guess, a few answers to that. When someone comes in to first discuss an engagement ring with us, we will definitely take them through the 4 C's. And not only do we talk about it, but we like to actually show them so they can physically see the difference between the color of diamonds and the clarity, and so forth. I guess out of the 4 C's, there's probably 2 of them that resonate more importantly with us, and one would be the cut grade. We always encourage our clients, do not ever compromise on cut grade. At the end of the day, that gives the diamond its life and its brilliance. If you settle on a diamond that's not perfectly cut, you can end up with a diamond that's not as brilliant. It can have kind of some dark shadows in it, aspects like the bow tie effect, which we definitely want to avoid. And getting a diamond that is perfectly cut is not impossible, and it doesn't necessarily have to cost you significantly more. It's just knowing how to pick them.
Sure.
So we're very fussy with cut grades. We also encourage our clients, spend your money where you can see it. So rather than overspending on something like clarity, which you can only appreciate and see with a magnifying glass, you're better off redirecting your funds into something like the color grade and getting a diamond that's a bit more white and crisp as opposed to having, warm undertones to it.
So that leads me into my next thought, which is what are the most important things that need to be considered when we're designing or thinking about an engagement ring? What do you think are the most important elements in an engagement ring design?
Look, firstly and foremost, the shape. Getting the shape right, the shape of the stone. So whether it's going to be an oval shape or a round or a rectangle.
So know what your partner wants.
Know what your partner wants, yes.
Or shop together.
Yeah, shop together or at least get some subtle hints somehow. Very, very important you get the shape right. The rest of it we can put together in terms of the size, the colour, the clarity, and pick a combination that's going to work for our clients. But shape most importantly.
What if he doesn't know the shape, or he or she doesn't know the shape and wants it to be a complete surprise? What's safe? What should we be choosing?
If we're going to talk statistics, I'd say a round diamond is definitely safe.
Yeah.
It'll be the most popular shape, always has been, always will.
Yeah.
I guess, it's a perfect circle, so it's pretty hard to beat. Second to that, and that's probably more in recent years, would be an oval shaped stone.
Yeah, for sure.
Oval, I guess in a sense, you get good value per carat weight. So they're slightly more shallow cut compared to your squarer stones.
Okay.
Therefore, they're going to look larger on a hand,
Right.
which is quite lovely. To obtain that larger size, it comes at the compromise of it being a bit more shallow, so they can have that slight bow tie effect in them, which is that little bit of a shadowing through the middle. I'd also, if you have no idea, look at their hands. Generally speaking, if someone has longer, thinner fingers, then I would say they're more suited to a longer shaped diamond, or something like an oval or radiant. Whereas if they have a kind of shorter hand, you might be more inclined to go for a slightly more symmetrical shape.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah,
There's that 11 years of experience coming through.
thanks.
And in that 11 years, you've probably had to adjust in the last few years to a really big change, being the introduction of lab-grown diamonds.
Absolutely.
Let's talk a little bit about lab-grown diamonds.
Okay, so, wow, a lot to talk about.
Yeah.
Lab-grown diamonds, let's talk about what they are. They're not a fake diamond. Lab-grown diamond, it's an advance of science. They are not necessarily new to mankind. They are new to the industry.
Yeah.
However, lab-grown diamonds, I'm sure they've been around for decades. They've been used in, industrial use and audio equipment, medical equipment, those type of devices. In more recent times, they have refined the technology, which means they're now able to make diamonds that are colourless. You get your DEF colours, and they are not flawless, but they're close to. They're up on that VS and VVS range of the clarity scale.
Right. So really more close to perfection.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. They definitely have a place in the market. Which way clients go about it, whether they go with a lab grown or a natural, is now a decision they need to make when coming in to purchase an engagement ring. And it can go either way. It can go either way. They both have their pros and cons. Depends on the individual client and their needs.
What is your number one pro of a natural diamond?
A natural diamond, the pro, I would say that it's made by Mother Nature. So in that sense, it's rare or more special to some people.
Yeah. There is something pretty special about the fact that that came from the
absolutely.
ground,
Yeah, absolutely.
isn't there?
Yeah, yeah.
And what about lab grown? What's your number one pro for lab grown?
How perfect they are.
Yeah.
So we tend to find, even from a cutting point of view,
Yep.
Diamond cutters aren't as scared to cut them perfectly.
Right.
And
Why?
that's purely based, well, because
Sorry.
they're able to grow a bigger rock
Yep.
and therefore can afford to cut more off it to
Sure.
make it perfect. Carat weight
Yep.
is so closely attached to the price of a natural stone.
Sure.
So if a diamond cutter overcuts that stone by even 0.1, 0.2 of a carat, the price of that can drop by thousands and thousands.
Crazy.
Whereas in a lab-grown version, if they're going to cut the stone an extra 0.1, 0.2 to get it perfect, the price won't drop by thousands, it'll drop by hundreds.
Yep.
So we tend to find that with lab-growns, they are literally all perfectly cut,
Yep.
which is quite remarkable.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be a pro for them.
And at the moment, the couples that you're working with who are purchasing lab-grown diamonds, what do you think is the biggest motivation behind them going lab versus natural?
I would say there's probably two motivations.
Yeah.
The first would be the environmentally friendly aspect to it. So there's no denying that a lab-grown diamond is made in a laboratory, which means therefore they're not having to dig big holes in the earth, kilometres down to source these stones.
Sure.
So that would definitely be at the top of the list. Second to that, I'd say motivation by size. Who doesn't love a big diamond? They're pretty, they're sparkly, and the bigger they are, the more they sparkle. And lab-growns has opened up the world of size and carat weight. They're a lot more accessible and more affordable. So therefore, clients that do go down that path have the opportunity to get a significantly bigger rock, as opposed to if they were going with a natural stone.
And do you find that clients might be sticking to the same budget that they had in mind when they were planning their shopping experience, but spending that budget on a larger lab-grown stone than a smaller natural stone?
Yeah, I'd say for probably half of them.
Yeah.
So we tend to find, they come in with a number in their mind.
Yeah.
And then it's kind of like, well, do I go for a 1 carat natural or do I go down the path of a 3 carat lab grown?
Yeah.
And then that, really depends on their personal preference and I
Yeah.
guess expectations.
Yeah.
I'd say that's for half of them. For the other half that do go lab grown, they're probably coming out spending a little bit less than they anticipated.
Sure.
And then, I've had a few clients, they'll redirect those funds into a bit more of a grand proposal or a little holiday on the side.
Yeah. Well, that's nice.
Yeah.
And what about the idea of investments? People buying diamonds or natural diamonds because they see it as an investment and it's going to hold value, that argument in the lab versus natural debate. Where do you sit on that?
Look, could be a controversial topic. Investment-wise, definitely an emotional investment.
Yes.
If we're purely buying a diamond on the basis of an investment to buy and hopefully sell down the track to make money or a profit out of it, then I would say you go down the path of a coloured stone, such as an argyle pink diamond, which will go up in value over time.
Sure.
A natural, colourless DEF diamond, they're definitely going to hold a lot more value than a lab-grown diamond will.
Yeah.
But it's not to say that after 10 years you're going to double your money. That's
Okay.
unlikely.
Yeah. That makes sense. So, 11 years in the industry, knowing everything you know. If you were going engagement ring shopping tomorrow, what would you buy for your partner?
I would buy a pear-shaped diamond.
Okay.
I would set it by itself in a 3 or 5 claw setting with
Okay.
no halo.
Okay, that's nice.
And I don't know if I could decide right now if it would be on a plain band or on a diamond set band.
Okay.
I think I'd probably lean towards a thin diamond set band.
And what are you prioritizing in the 4 Cs when you're choosing that diamond?
Carat.
Dream man.
Carat, look, there's a little bit more to it. Make sure that it's clean to the naked eye.
Yeah.
No horrendous inclusions in it, but definitely carat. want to spend my money where I can see it. Carat, a little bit on the colour, not too much on the clarity.
Okay, so you've heard it here first.
Yeah.
Giuseppe said pears. Pears are the new oval.
Yep.
Let's hope so.
Yep.
And what about diamond size? What is the biggest natural diamond that you've sold?
The biggest natural in recent times would be a 5 carat in an oval shape. The stone was gorgeous. It was set into a very unique diamond band, and we also set a pink diamond under each side of the basket.
Oh,
so it was,
wow.
it was an exceptional ring.
Yeah, that sounds pretty stunning.
Yeah.
And what about lab grown? Have you gone a little bit bigger in a lab grown diamond sale?
Only ever so slightly,
Okay.
and that would be in a 6 carat.
Wow. What shape was that?
That was also an oval.
Oh, okay.
So it was big. It was big.
I think ovals are kind of here to stay.
Yeah, I guess with the lab grown as well, you don't want to go too carried away and go too big.
Yeah.
Because I guess there is a tipping point where it kind of starts to look too big.
So 6.
Yeah,
Wow.
I feel like the 5, 6, 7 carat and onwards, you'd start setting those stones into things like a big pendant.
Yeah.
Or maybe a brooch.
Yeah.
Something unique. And
or like a
different.
crown or a tiara.
Yeah, in a ring, it starts to get pretty big on the hand. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure we're safe. I don't think there'll be too many of those diamonds floating around on people's hands anytime soon.
No.
So you've been here for 11 years. But how long has Affinity Diamonds been around for?
We've been around for 20 years now.
2 decades.
Yeah, 2 decades.
That is a really long time.
Yep.
And what do you think has allowed for that success? What differentiates you from everyone else who's in this same industry?
Look, from day one, we've always had the same approach, which is to be honest with our clients. And we like to say that we don't sell, we teach.
Yeah,
and we
that's
do
nice.
that. From the first visit, we show clients everything we can and pass on our knowledge. From the 4 Cs, from ring design. So we feel that's very important that a client makes an informed decision.
Yep.
And they can only do that once they understand diamonds. On top of that, we've kind of gone from one office to another. And what we've realized is that clients want to know that the ring has been made in Australia and that we're not outsourcing it from overseas. And with that in mind, if you take a step into our office space, our boutique, you'll see that our workshop is front and center.
Yeah.
It sits in the middle of our office space, and we do that because we want clients to see that your ring is made here in Australia using Australian gold and having Australian jewelers and setters make it for them. And from a maintenance point of view, it means you can then come back to the same place every 12 months, see the same faces and have your ring maintained.
That's a really nice touch. That is really special. There is so much value in that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, that wraps up our first episode of Facets of Affinity. Thank you so much for joining us today, Giuseppe. It was wonderful having you.
Thank you for having me. Great chatting.
Thank you for joining us for today's episode of Facets of Affinity. We hope you'll join us in our future episodes where we delve deeper into all things love, engagement, and weddings, sprinkled with a generous dose of sparkle.